there, very good evening and welcome to the news tonight, where we get you the day's top stories from India and across the world. I'm Tracy Shilshi. Let's start with the headlines. At the G20 summit, Prime Minister Narendra Modi equates his relationship, of course, with several other countries on the basis of terrorism, says everyone must join hands against Pak-based terror outfits. In the highly anticipated event at the G20 summit, US President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin hold their first bilateral meeting as presidents. Trump says positive things will happen for both the countries. Prime Minister Narendra Modi addresses informal meetings of BRICS leaders. Chinese President Xi Jinping praises India's strong resolve in fighting terror, appreciates its role in guiding the progress of the group. Kashmir put on high alert ahead of the first death anniversary of Hizbul Mujahideen militant Burhan Wani. Mobile internet and broadband services are suspended indefinitely. Police, in fact, presence is increased in Tral area to prevent assembly of people. And CBI files corruption case against RJD chief Lalu Prasad, conducts searches at 12 locations. RJD and other opposition leaders call the action political vendetta. Union Minister Venkaiah Naidu, though, refutes the charge, saying CBI is only doing its duty. Let's start with news coming in from the G20 summit in Hamburg in Germany. Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Friday named Pakistan-based terror group Lashkar-e-Toiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed and said that some countries were using terror as a tool to achieve political objectives. He also urged the G20 members for deterrent action against such nations. He equated the Lashkar-e-Toiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed with Islamic State and Al-Qaeda, saying that their names may be different, but their ideology was the same. In the presence of world leaders, Prime Minister Modi said that the international response to terrorism has been weak and said more cooperation was needed to fight the menace. He also presented an 11-point action agenda that includes suggestions for exchange of lists of terrorists among G20 nations, easing and expediting of legal processes like extradition, and taking concrete steps to choke funds and weapons supply to terrorists. Well, the G20 summit also saw a closely watched meeting between US President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin. President Trump said that it was an honor to meet and that he looked forward to positive things happening between the former Cold War rivals. Putin also called their meeting an important bilateral meet.
We appreciate it. President Putin and I have been discussing various things, and I think it's going very well. We've had some very, very good talks. We're going to have a talk now, and obviously that will continue. But we look forward to a lot of very positive things happening for Russia, for the United States, and for everybody concerned. And it's an honor to be with you.
Your Excellency, Mr. President, we spoke over the phone with you several times on very important bilateral and international issues. Well, phone conversation is never enough, definitely.
Earlier, world leaders sat together for the first working session of the meet. The focus of the first session was terrorism, global economy and climate. The leaders urged the US president of taking the lead in addressing climate change, a concept that he refuses to accept. Trump has already pulled his country out of the Paris climate deal and is likely to be asked to reconsider that position.
Wenn wir kompromissbereit sind, wenn wir uns aufeinander zubewegen ohne aber, das sage ich ganz ausdrücklich, auch uns zu sehr zu verbiegen.
Well, earlier police arrested several protesters before the summit kicked off. Water cannons were used on protesters as police started to remove people from various sit-ins and blockades across the city centre. Dozens of policemen were also injured in clashes between the two sides. Now, at a time when Indian and Chinese troops are engaged in an eyeball-to-eyeball confrontation in Sikkim, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Chinese President Xi Jinping appreciated each other's efforts in advancing the BRICS agenda in Hamburg. Xi Jinping hosted the informal meeting of the BRICS grouping as its current chairperson. Later, both shook hands and had a brief conversation. In their speeches, the two leaders talked about terrorism and economic momentum among the member countries.
BRICS leaders met informally ahead of the G20 meeting in Hamburg. Addressing the participants, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said both BRICS and G20 groups should address terrorism, including its financing, franchisees, safe havens, as well as support and sponsors. The Prime Minister also appreciated Chinese President Xi Jinping for hosting the 9th BRICS summit in September in Xiamen province.
राष्ट्रपति शी की अध्यक्षता में ब्रिक्स की गतिशीलता तथा पॉजिटिव मोमेंटम ने हमारे आपसी सहयोग को और भी गहरा किया है.
Speaking immediately after Prime Minister Modi, Chinese President Xi Jinping appreciated India's strong resolve against terrorism and its social and economic development. He also praised the momentum that BRICS had acquired under India's chairmanship and through the outcomes of Goa summit in 2016. It will, however, be interesting to see if this appreciation translates into actual bilateral interaction between the two countries, who are locked in a standoff over boundary issues in Sikkim. Akhilesh Suman's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
We'll keep an eye on all those diplomatic developments. Meanwhile, in national news, the CBI on Friday registered a corruption case against former Railways Minister Lalu Prasad, his wife Devi and son Tejaswi Yadav. The case pertains to their alleged involvement in irregularities to do with tenders for hotels in Ranchi and Puri in 2006. Meanwhile, Union Minister M. Venkaiah Naidu has said that the government has no role in the CBI raids.
Central Bureau of Investigation on Friday registered a corruption case against former Bihar Chief Minister and RJD Chief Lalu Prasad. Lalu Prasad is accused of helping a private firm get a tender for maintenance of 2 railway hotels in 2006 when he was railway minister. Also named in the CBI case are Lalu's wife Rabri Devi, his son Tejaswi Yadav, former MD of Indian Railway Catering and Tourism Corporation and directors of private firms. Earlier, the CBI conducted searches at 12 locations across Patna, Delhi, Gurugram and other places.
प्राथमिक इंक्वायरी में ये पाया गया कि ये टेंडर अवार्ड करने में कुछ गड़बड़ियां की गई हैं और इस प्राइवेट कंपनी को फेवर्स शो किया गया है और उसकी एवज में श्री लालू प्रसाद यादव और उनकी फैमिली को पहले एक जमीन दी गई.
Hitting out at Prime Minister Modi and the BJP, the RJD chief called the searches a conspiracy.
31 मई 2004 को मैंने मंत्री उसके पहले ये सब हैंडओवर हो चुका था. एनडीए की सरकार थी. चुप करिए ना. अटल बिहारी जी वाजपेयी प्रधानमंत्री थे.
Lalu's party, the RJD and other opposition leaders also accused the BJP of indulging in vendetta and said it will fight the charges legally and politically.
Today's date shall go down in contemporary history as one of the darkest days. You know why I say this, and I say this with conviction, that there is a predictability about these kind of agencies. You can actually say that where they are going to sit next. You know why? Because suddenly these instruments have become new alliance partners. These agencies have become new alliance partner for the BJP.
तो रेलवेज ने 13 साल से उस टेंडर को कैंसिल क्यों नहीं किया? जवाब है मालूम नहीं. क्या रेलवे अब टेंडर को कैंसिल करेगी? जवाब है मालूम नहीं. क्या रेलवे ने उस कंपनी के खिलाफ कार्रवाई की जिसको टेंडर दिया गया है? जवाब नहीं. तो अब आप निर्णय कर लीजिए.
Law takes its course. No problem. But there are apprehensions in the minds of people whether this is a selective right in order to silence Mr. Lalu Prasad Yadav.
However, Union Minister M. Venkaiah Naidu said the government and the BJP had no role to play in the CBI searches.
The government or the party has no role in it. Let me make it very clear. Instead of facing the charges and answering the charges, making political allegation against the government and the BJP has become a fashion.
A general alert was sounded across the state after the CBI action that started at 7 a.m.
जो भी सीबीआई की कार्रवाई चल रही है उसके मद्देनजर पॉलिटिकल रेमिफिकेशंस की संभावना बनी हुई है। इस संभावना को देखते हुए हमने पूरे राज्य में अलर्ट किया है और जो संवेदनशील इलाके हैं वहां पर हमारी पेट्रोलिंग चल रही है। हर जिलों के पास में अपने रिजर्व बल भी हैं।
The searches come weeks after the Income Tax Department surveyed locations in New Delhi and adjoining areas over corruption charges against Lalu's daughter Misa Bharti and her husband Sailesh Kumar. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Now to West Bengal, where the situation is still tense in North 24 Parganas district. Despite the imposition of 44 in the area, sporadic incidents were reported on Friday. Authorities also stopped leaders from different political parties from entering the area.
Police and paramilitary forces marched through the troubled areas of West Bengal's riot-hit North 24 Parganas district on Friday. Even though the state government said the situation was under control in Baduria, Swarupnagar, Deganga and Basirhat areas, some sporadic incidents of violence were reported. Security forces fired tear gas shells to disperse protesters. Delegations of the Congress, left parties and the BJP were not allowed to go into the violence-hit areas. The police stopped them from doing so.
Even the police administration in Bengal now has deteriorated such a situation that they don't have the courage to reach out to the affected areas and give solace to the affected people. And that's why they have just cordoned off the areas.
আমাদের উদ্দেশ্য সেখানে কোনো উত্তেজনা তৈরি করা নয়। আমাদের উদ্দেশ্য সেখান থেকে কোনো রাজনৈতিক ফায়দা তোলা নয়। আমাদের একটাই উদ্দেশ্য, একটাই বক্তব্য যে দাঙ্গা নয়, শান্তি চাই।
It is not the peace in West Bengal that she is looking at. She is looking at that her TMC people can rule and command on everybody.
Earlier this week, clashes had broken out between members of two communities in Baduria and Basirhat subdivision of North 24 Parganas district over an objectionable Facebook post. Calling the communal violence as unfortunate, Union Minister M. Venkaiah Naidu has urged the state government to take effective steps to protect all people. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
With a quick break here, we'll be back with more news in a bit. Stay with us.
Hydroelectric cell has been invented by us in India. It is internationally recognized, accepted, and it's a low cost, which is non-toxic. It does not use any of chemicals in it. Besides this, it's a portable, can be used anywhere, anytime, day, night.
Watch Eureka with Dr. R.K. Kotnala, Chief Scientist at National Physical Laboratory, Delhi, only on Rajya Sabha television.
Mihir Sen, an outstanding and extraordinary saltwater swimmer of India. He is the first Asian to swim the English Channel way back in 1958. And just 8 years later, in 1966, he swam the 7 seas of the 5 continents in 1 calendar year, which etched his name in the Guinness Book of World Records. In 1959, he was also conferred the Padma Shri, and in 1967, he was awarded the Padma Bhushan.
Welcome back. Let's continue getting you more national news. And in Kashmir, it's been put on high alert and security measures were tightened ahead of the first death anniversary of Hizbul Mujahideen terrorist Burhan Wani on Saturday. Mobile internet and broadband services were suspended indefinitely since yesterday. Police increased its presence in Wani's native village in Tral area to prevent assembly of people. Burhan Wani's death in an encounter with security forces last year had triggered massive protests and unrest across the valley. Over 80 people were killed and thousands were injured in daily clashes between security forces and protesters for over 4 months. Separatists have called for a strike on the 8th of July to those who were killed in action against stone pelting mobs.
अभी तक का जो एंटिसिपेशन है उसमें यही चल रहा था कि कहीं ना कहीं कुछ प्रोग्राम किए जा सकते हैं या सेपरेटिस्ट द्वारा कोई कॉल दी जा सकती है, बट अभी तक ऐसा कोई दिख नहीं रहा है। बट फ्रॉम द सिक्योरिटी पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू, चाहे वो नेशनल हाईवे पे है या साउथ कश्मीर में या श्रीनगर टाउन में, डाउनटाउन एरिया में, वहाँ सिक्योरिटी बीफ अप करी गई है और प्रिकॉशनरी मेजर के तौर पे रिस्ट्रिक्शंस लगाई गई हैं।
The Jammu and Kashmir Legislative Assembly passed the state GST bill amidst boycott by the opposition. With this, Jammu and Kashmir became the last state to join the new one tax, one nation regime. The bill, moved by Finance Minister Hasib Drabu, was adopted by a voice vote in the absence of opposition parties, which accused the PDP-BJP government of undermining the special status of the state. The bill was moved in the Assembly after a presidential order which assured that the special status of the state, guaranteed by Article 370 of the Constitution, will be preserved. The GST regime will roll out in the state at midnight tonight.
पहले मैं महामहिम राष्ट्रपति जी का आभार प्रकट करूंगा, उनको धन्यवाद दूंगा कि प्रेसिडेंशियल ऑर्डर जो है वो पास हो गया है और जम्मू कश्मीर में जीएसटी लागू हुआ है। मैं धन्यवाद करता हूं हमारे ऑनरेबल प्राइम मिनिस्टर का, फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर साहब का, लॉ मिनिस्टर हैं, होम मिनिस्टर हैं, उनका भी धन्यवाद।
Vice President Mohammad Hamid Ansari today said that Mahatma Gandhi's dream of India is incomplete. At a program hosted by the Harijan Sevak Sangh, he said that efforts should be made to make model India. The Vice President also inaugurated a museum on Kasturba's life in the complex.
Vice President Mohammad Hamid Ansari visited the Harijan Sevak Sangh campus in Delhi on Friday. This is the place where Mahatma Gandhi initiated several movements. Inaugurating a museum based on Kasturba Gandhi's life, the Vice President said the need of the hour was to follow in Gandhi's path.
गांधी जी ने जिसका ख्वाब देखा था वो देश बना के तब आराम करें, उससे पहले आराम नहीं कर सकते। अभी वो काम ख़त्म नहीं हुआ है, कभी कभी हम भटक भी जाते हैं, मगर ठीक है, रास्ते से भटके वापस आ गए, मालूम है रास्ता कहाँ है। सीधी सड़क वो बता के गए थे, उसी सीधी सड़क पे हमको जाना है, उसी मंजिल पे हमको पहुंचना है।
Vice President Ansari also said Gandhi had always believed that education is the bearer of change in society. Mahatma Gandhi's granddaughter Tara Gandhi Bhattacharya was also present on the occasion.
लोकतंत्र में सरकार नहीं, जनता की जिम्मेदारी होती है और जब तक हम समाज में व्यक्ति की और समाज की सामूहिक और व्यक्ति के स्तर पर जब तक हम अपनी मानसिकता नहीं बदलते हैं तब तक यह नहीं जाएगा। इसके लिए बहुत प्रयास करने होंगे और सबसे बड़ा प्रयास होगा और सबसे सफल प्रयास होगा बच्चों की शिक्षा और युवाओं की शिक्षा के लिए।
जो भी समस्या है उस समस्या का हल किस तरीके से होगा, तो हम लोग अगर सबको पर्कुलेट नहीं करेगा, वो मैसेज अगर पर्कुलेट नहीं होगा, गांधी जी का मैसेज पर्कुलेट नहीं तो नहीं हो पाएगा।
Gandhi founded the Harijan Sevak Sangh in 1932 and its purpose was to remove untouchability from Hindu society and turn it into a society that believes in atonement for sinners. Panchanan Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
And let's take a look at some more developments from across the country in Nationwide. India's new anti-hijacking law, which came into force today, prescribes capital punishment in the event of death of any person. The 2016 Anti-Hijacking Act replaced a 1982 law, according to which hijackers could be tried only in the event of death of hostages, such as flight crew, passengers, and security personnel. The new law mandates the central government to confer powers of investigation, arrest, and prosecution on any officer of the central government or the NIA. The Supreme Court has asked former BCCI President Anurag Thakur to tender an unconditional, unequivocal and categorical apology. This was in order to get relief from the contempt proceedings initiated against him. A bench of justices also said that the earlier affidavit of apology filed by Thakur would not be considered. He must now file a one-page short affidavit tendering unconditional apology. The Supreme Court today said that all issues arising out of Aadhaar will be finally decided by its Constitution bench. A three-judge bench has asked the parties to urge the Chief Justice to set up a Constitution bench to decide the issues relating to Aadhaar. The Apex Court, however, had allowed the centre to seek Aadhaar card voluntarily from citizens for extending benefits of schemes like LPG subsidy, Jan Dhan scheme and public distribution system. The Apex Court also ordered a halt to further counselling and admissions to IITs in respect to the entrance tests under JEE Advanced. A bench of Justices Deepak Mishra and A.M. Khanwilkar also restrained the High Court from entertaining any writ petition relating to counselling and admissions to the IITs today onwards. The Finance Ministry has asked all central ministries to ensure revised rates of allowances as per the 7th Central Pay Commission. All allowances are given effect from the 1st of July 2017. It will benefit 34 lakh civilian employees and 14 lakh defence personnel. All right, in some sports, a day after American Bethany Mattek-Sands suffered what looked like a horrific injury to her right knee during the match, court conditions at Wimbledon are coming under scrutiny. During the match against Sorana Cîrstea, Mattek-Sands appeared to twist her knee while the match was delicately poised at a set apiece. She received medical attention for 20 minutes on court before being taken to a hospital. She was also heard screaming, "Help me," for a few minutes before help came out. The extent of her injury is not known yet. WTA has said that she will undergo more tests on her right knee.
Yeah, I crossed over and then I saw the knee, and I've never seen anything like this in my life. I don't know, there are sports where you see something's happening and you see it straight away, the help, you know, like I know football, box or all the others, you know, it's straight away. Which here, I mean, it took a while. So of course you wonder, well, what happened if it was a heart issue or something like this? Yes, of course.
However, Wimbledon officials have sought to reassure players about the quality of playing surfaces. Other players have expressed concern about the potential damage done by high temperatures and dry weather. Kristina Mladenovic, who was beaten by Alison Risk, has been outspoken about the quality of the surface on court 18. After the game, she said that her main concern had been getting off the court uninjured. Other players too have retired injured in both men's and women's singles. We'll watch out for developments there. Meanwhile, let's take you through some more updates from across the world in Global Buzz. The United Nations Security Council imposed sanctions on Jamaat-ul-Ahrar, a splinter group of the Pakistan Taliban, subjecting it to an arms embargo. The Security Council's Al-Qaeda Sanctions Committee added Jamaat-ul-Ahrar to the ISIS and Al-Qaeda sanctions list yesterday. China said on Friday that it opposes the use of freedom of overflight as an excuse to harm its security. This comes after 2 U.S. bombers reportedly flew over the disputed South China Sea. The U.S. Air Force, however, asserted the right to treat the region as international territory despite China's claim to virtually the entire waterway. North Koreans celebrated the country's first intercontinental ballistic missile test with a mass rally and dance at Pyongyang late Thursday night. Videos of the supposed celebration shows thousands of people, including the state's high-ranking officials and soldiers, gathered at Kim Il-sung Square. The celebrations included a colorful firework display. The Egyptian army said 26 soldiers were killed and 33 wounded on Friday in attacks on checkpoints in the Sinai Peninsula, where the Islamic State group is conducting an insurgency. Authorities are still unsure about the exact death toll. The military said that it killed 40 terrorists as it clashed with extremists in North Sinai. At least 28 inmates died in a fight between two rival gangs in a high-security prison in Mexico. The victims were stabbed and beaten to death, with some decapitated. An investigation has been ordered by the governor. The fight is said to have been triggered by a permanent feud between the two gangs. That's all we could pack in on the news tonight. Thank you so much for joining us.